In solo leveling, after the Lich King noticed that Beru was from the Shadow King's army, he yelled asking why the monarch's personal army were there to attack them. Beru started cackling, saying, "We were chosen by the king, and you were not." "Impossible!" the Lich shouts, saying that he would speak to the king personally, but suddenly, Beru lunges towards him, striking him right in the center. "You sure have a lot to say for someone who's about to die," Beru said. As they fall, the Lich slams into the ground, immobilizing him. Beru pulls out his life essence with ease.
No!
The Lich screams as he crushes it into little pieces. The Lich's soul starts disintegrating into the air. The power controlling the Death Knights disappears, making them fall to the ground. It defeated the Arch-Lich with just one punch? The hunters question the unbelievable situation. Beru roars at the sight of his victory. "I didn't expect it to be this strong," Jiangsu said. Yuntai says how with soldiers like those, Papa Wu wouldn't need to step inside a gate since he could easily clear a dungeon by just sending his summons. Jiangsu seems to realize that fact, thinking that even though summoning all of his summons might result in his mana depleting, judging by how strong they are, summoning just half of them would make him wield an army way more powerful than any major guild. Yuntai quickly tells Jiangsu that they should try to acquire JinWoo's guild. Jiangsu responds, saying that the word acquire isn't quite right, and that it's better to call it an alliance instead. Yuntai asks him if he's really serious, since he was just joking because he doesn't look Drip Wu would need their help. Jiangsu responds, saying that even though he's sung JinWoo, he shouldn't be allowed to bend the rules. Yuntai is confused by this, but Jiangsu explains how even though he may be able to clear dungeons on his own, there is still a minimum number of hunters that's required to even raid a gate. "No one is exempt from this rule," he said, asking if he forgot about the basic requirements. Yuntai responds, saying he's right since JinWoo could boost their fighting power, while they'd be able to provide him with the number of hunters he would need to meet the requirements, a win-win situation. "But that means we'd be riding on his coattails," Yuntai said nervously. Jiangsu responds, saying that was nonsense, they simply just have the right connections. After the orcs invaded Sung JinWoo's sister school, only death could be seen in the hallways. Sung Drip Wu swiftly annihilated the orcs and the chief. Outside the school, ambulances and the police are present carrying the bodies of the deceased students. A mother quickly tries to run inside the school, saying that her son was inside and to get out of the way. Other students cry in front of their classmates' unalived bodies. "Are there any other survivors?" a hunter shouted. "No, sir," they responded. "It's a gloomy day in solo leveling today." Inside a car, the chairman of the Hunter Association can be seen informing JinWoo that 213 students managed to escape safely, but only 10 students were rescued from the building. As for the rest of the students, they went home in a bag. "Perhaps we should have seen this coming," the chairman said, handing a phone to Drip Wu. He said that the graph showed the spike in gate appearances in the city in the last 6 months, while the graph at the bottom, corresponding to the entire world, shows the same upward spike. "All countries are experiencing an exponential surge in the number of gates," he stated. He also said how this isn't the only strange phenomenon, since more awakened are seeking to get evaluated as well, suggesting that as the number of gate appearances rise, the number of hunters who can take close those gates are also rising, almost as if the world is trying to maintain a careful balance. A change is happening, JinWoo thinks to himself. Drip Wu asks the chairman why he wanted to speak to him today. He responds, saying that people from Japan, United States, China, Russia, France, UK, Germany, and other countries all want to meet him, giving him the document containing all their official requests. He said that some countries have already made contact with him through unofficial channels, saying that the association doesn't have the right to stop them, since they're only capable of protecting his personal information like he requested. He said that whether he decides to meet them or not, it's up to him, but if he decides to leave Korea, he fears that the country wouldn't be able to adapt to the changes. They finally arrive at the hospital his sister was taken to. The chairman calls out to Papa Wu, saying that he would do anything in his power to provide him with all the resources he needs. "So please consider staying," he pleaded. He said that the country had 10 official S ranks, including him, but they lost 3 since 2 died in the Jeju raids, while 1 left for the United States. The association can't afford to keep ignoring this matter, and because of that, he asks JinWoo to let him know how he can please him. JinWoo looks down, saying, "Then in that case, I'd like to enter high-ranking gates alone from now on." The chairman gets shocked hearing this, asking if he's saying he wants him to remove the minimum capacity requirement. JinWoo confirms, saying that's exactly what he wants. The chairman states how that law was put in place for the safety of the hunters, because it prevents overconfident hunters from walking into a dungeon just to get themselves killed. Abolishing that rule would be a problem. The chairman realizes something and asks Papa Wu if that's the reason he had created a guild, and he confirms it. JinWoo tells him if he's asking for too much. The chairman smiles at the thought of a one-man assault squad, saying that even though it'll be difficult, it's not impossible. "You can leave it to me," he said. After the celebrity Soo-hyun got done with a photo shoot, she received a phone call. It turned out to be her cousin Jinho, asking if she wanted to join his guild, saying that he wouldn't make her do any work, so it'd be better to join him instead of being an ambassador for his father's guild instead. She responds, saying she's confused about all the guild talk, and asks if he's heard that his sister Jinhee is returning to Korea. Jinho responds, saying of course he knew, but never mind that since he needs one more founding member right now. She said that if he's asking her to join a guild that hasn't even been formed yet, and if he's sure he isn't just being scammed by a random. Jinho responds, saying that she'd be shocked to hear who this random actually is. She asked, "Who is it?" Back in the Papa Wu's guild office, JinWoo asks if this was the person he was talking about. He responds, saying it is, and introduces her as his cousin, saying that she's a certified A rank. She's surprised by the fact that she's looking at the one and only Sung Riz Woo with her own eyes right now. "Wow, I can't believe I'm looking at Rizzy Woo right now," she said. Jinho asks her what she was talking about since she's the one who's supposed to be the celebrity here. JinWoo questions if she's an A-rank hunter. Soo-hyun responds, saying of course she'd be excited to meet the drippiest hunter who had vanished after ruining Min Sung's press conference. This guy right here, who was also a celebrity, turned hunter who was pooping his pants during the Jeju raid. Since Jinho is a D rank, while his cousin is an A rank, JinWoo questions if genetics play a part in the awakening process. But it made sense since there are cases where both sibling awaken, and his daddy was also a hunter. "So I presume Jinho explained everything already?" JinWoo asked. Soo-hyun responded, saying she understood that they needed another founding member to start the guild. JinWoo warns her that joining his guild would cause quite a stir, asking if she's okay with that. She responds, saying that anything was better than getting mixed up with Jin Sung. "Jin Sung?" JinWoo asked. Jinho whispers in his ear, telling him that was his older brother. JinWoo remembers saying he's the one with the bad personality. Soo-hyun asks Riz Woo a very important question. She asks him if he would mind taking a selfie with her so she could post it on Instagram. "Are you out of your mind?" someone yelled. The senator shouted, saying if he really wanted for JinWoo's shadow soldiers to be recognized as members of an assault squad, saying it was complete and utter nonsense. He said that the regulation was put in place as soon as JinWoo established his guild, telling him this was clear preferential treatment towards him. He shouted, saying that the Hunter Association existed for the good of all hunters, and not just Sung JinWoo telling the chairman to explain himself. "Yes, you are absolutely right," the chairman said with a smile. "This is indeed preferential treatment." The senator yelled at the chairman to explain himself. He responded smiling, saying he's absolutely right. "This is preferential treatment." The chairman asked the whispering people to let him cook, giving them a scenario. "You have the option of an assault squad consisting of 20 A-rank hunters, or the squad of just Sung Riz Woo himself. If you could only deploy one of these teams into a dungeon break zone, which one would you choose?" he asked Congress. The chairman said how he heard that the senator had moved to a new apartment near the Hunters Guild and asked him why he moved there since the prices on the houses there are much higher than other areas. The senator gets stunned by this question, saying that was unrelated to, "It was for safety reasons, wasn't it?" the chairman told him. He said how it was the same for everyone else in the country. Anyone with enough money would want to move somewhere safer. The chairman gives him a cold look, saying that guilds all over the world are desperate to get their hands on JinWoo, and asks him if he would want to remain in a country that is unwilling to compromise with him. "Do you want us to make the same mistake twice?" the chairman asked, saying that if he thinks this preferential treatment is unreasonable, he pleads with him to think about who will save his life when another S-rank gate appears here in Korea. Someone can be seen looking at her phone with the selfie Soo-hyun posted next to Drippy Woo captioned, "First day at Ahjin Guild." The one who is looking at the picture is none other than mommy Cha Hye-in, trembling with jealousy as a storm rumbles outside her house. The next day, Jin-ho can be seen in absolute shock, saying he's never seen anything like this. "This gate is massive!" he shouted. JinWoo thinks to himself that he would have flipped out if he saw the one in Busan, since it was at least 5 times bigger. "Let's go," Rizwoo said. Reporters crowd Drip Woo, taking pictures of him, asking how he felt about going on the Ahjin Guild's first raid. "Why did you name your guild Ahjin? What's your relationship with your guild member Soo-hyun?" they ask as the association agents try to block them. Drip Woo asks Jin Chul that he thought the association was keeping his personal information private, asking why the reporters were here. Jin Chul responds, saying that they are protecting his personal information, but can't stop the public from knowing the location of gates, saying that he should be careful of what gets posted on social media from now on, reminding him that Soo-hyun posted that picture on Instagram. "I'll keep that in mind," he replied. Jin-ho says that if they should call a hauling team or a mining team because he doesn't think he can handle everything himself, but Drip Woo tells him he doesn't need to worry since his shadow soldiers would be doing all the work. As Jin Chul reads his scanner, he's surprised by the fact that all of his summons are B rank or higher, saying that a squad like that is overqualified for a raid permit into an A rank gate. He then hands the scanner over to the other agents, thinking to himself that Papa Wu made complete fools of everyone who were debating that this was preferential treatment. Jin Chul suddenly started taking off his blazer, surprising both Jin-ho and Jin-woo. He said that he was ordered by the chairman to observe the raid to see if this really was a safe idea, asking if it would be okay for him to be the representative of the inspection team just for today. Drip Woo responds, saying, "Would you really be okay?" "Pardon?" Jin Chul responds. 5 minutes later, Jin Chul is in absolute shock at what he sees in front of him. A Naga who's an A-rank monster getting absolutely toyed with by regular soldiers. Tank and Iron One tapping the monsters with ease. The High Orc thrusts his sword into their corpse. Baru decapitates one in the fraction of a second. Even veteran hunters who have exceptional combat and magic skills would struggle against these guys, Jin Chul thought to himself. "That one is especially powerful," he said, while Igris was walking towards the monsters while exuding aura upon aura. Igris slashed at his side, launching a huge lightning attack. Jin Chul is shocked, since only mages of the highest level could wield lightning magic, but Igris can use it every single time he swings his sword. The lightning attack is about to make impact in the direction of the monsters, slashing every single one of them like butter. The lightning explodes everything in sight, disintegrating the monsters in the fraction of a second. Is it A rank? No, it's probably higher. Jin Chul thinks to himself in absolute disbelief of what's happening in front of him. He asked himself if he could win if they fought in a one-on-one, but we all know he would have gotten stomped on. Here we see a peaceful shadow ant trying to munch on a monster's head. But Drippy Woo comes out of nowhere, kicking the innocent ant, making it hit the wall. "I told you not to eat those," he said, asking if he knew how valuable those corpses were, and ordered the others to keep on mining them mana crystals. Since he's capable of clearing dungeons, retrieving corpses, and mining mana crystals, he isn't just a one-man assault squad, but a completely automated raid machine. Jin Chul says how he now understands why the chairman asked him to observe him today. Suddenly, the boss of the dungeon appeared standing 30 feet tall in front of Papa Wu. "Those of you who are still working can stay. The rest of you return," Drip Woo commanded. Quickly, shadows start swarming beneath his feet, surprising Jin Chul. "Why do you have the other soldiers go away?" he asked, saying that his summons would have been able to take down the boss easily. But as Jin Woo pulls out his dagger, he says, "Relying too much on my shadows makes me lose my touch." Drip Woo takes a step forward, launching himself towards the beast with immeasurable speed. As he's zooming through the air, he slashes the monster's cranium in half with negative difficulty, leaving Jinchul astonished with his jaw wide open. As the boss's body crashes on the floor, he manages to level up, making him level 101, leveling up most of his job-specific skills like Shadow Summon, Shadow Storage, Monarch's Domain, and lastly, Shadow Exchange. He's surprised by the fact that all of his job skills leveled up, but what he's most excited about is the cooldown for the skill Shadow Exchange went down by an hour. Since the cooldown of the skill goes down by an hour every time he levels up, soon he'd be able to go anywhere in the world without worrying about the safety of her mother and sister. Still shocked by the fact that JinWoo had managed to pierce the Naga's scales, who are tough enough to be used as shields or armor with just 2 daggers, he had noticed something. JinWoo stood before the corpse saying the word, "Wakey, wakey," and extracts the shadow straight out of the corpse. The shadow turned out to be the same rank as Tusk, and as its level was 13, he assumes it'd be as strong as it was alive, but it was way smaller than when he was alive, stating that shadows usually stay the same size or grow bigger after extraction. Though luckily the amount of mana it's emitting is enormous, estimating it to be at least as strong as Tusk. JinWoo thought that maybe it can grow in size just like Tusk using magic, so maybe this was its original size. Either way, it's a huge addition to his collection. The system prompts him to choose a name for his soldier, and he goes with the name Jima. Jinho in the background over here glazing him, saying he's truly incredible. The cave suddenly starts rumbling and tells JinWoo that they should get going. While staring at the boss's corpse, he asks himself what he should do with it. Outside the gate, reporters are in utter shock as red feet step out of the gate. It turned out to be Tusk, but one of the reporters yelled, "Run!" But another sensible reporter spoke, saying it was JinWoo's shadow soldier, making everyone surprised that he already had cleared the gate. "Quick, take a picture!" they yelled as they snapped photos of him, making Tusk just a little bit shy. Jinho and JinWoo step out of the gate, saying how there were even more reporters here then when they went inside. In the background, Jinchul can be seen looking like he got the life sucked out of him. "And that's what happened, Chairman," he spoke in a sickly manner. The chairman sighs, saying that he's seen so many different raids over the years, but after hearing his report, it's understandable as to why he looked like he's about to kick the bucket. Jinchul responds, saying what he witnessed wasn't a raid, but a complete massacre. The chairman looks at him seriously, saying that he should get some rest. He looks outside his window, thinking to himself that Papa Wu cleared an A-rank dungeon, retrieved the monster corpses, and mined crystals all on his own. He said how calling him a one-man assault squad is an understatement since he's a one-man guild. This thought made the chairman smile, saying that he wasn't wrong about him after all. The hunters from all over the world are about to see the tides turn, he said. At the same time in Tokyo, Japan, civilians can be seen in utter shock looking up at the sky. They can't seem to believe their eyes, saying, "Oh my God." An absolutely humongous gate had appeared right above the city. At Japan's Prime Minister's estate, some randoms talk about how the Blades, Phantoms, Invincible Kings, and Snowy Mountains, the 4 major guilds of Japan, are present, making this a huge deal. "Whoa, look!" one of the randoms shouted, as the top S ranks from the Blades Guild had arrived. They start criticizing them since they had lost 7 S ranks during the Jeju raid, because they were scheming with Japan's Hunter Association chairman, saying that it serves them right and that their days are numbered. After hearing them yap for so long, they halt and look back at the Yapatrons with a murderous look in their eyes, making them walk away with their tail tucked between their legs. This made Minoru angry, since when Goto Ryuji was alive, they wouldn't even dare to look them in the eye, calling them opportunistic bastards. Kanai spoke, stating that she heard the Phantom Guild had acquired the Snowy Mountain Guild. Since the 2 guilds combined, they would now have 4 S ranks combined, just like them. Reiji responds, saying if they really think merging would make them the best guild in Japan, since even if every single guild in the country combined forces, they would still be no match for them. The Prime Minister shouted, saying why the Hunter Association hadn't said anything, screaming that a gate had spawned in the heart of Japan, and they didn't have a single countermeasure in place. The chairman responds to these accusations saying that even S ranks aren't strong enough to clear an S rank gate, but national-level hunters might be able to. This one-eye man interrupts saying to the Prime Minister that he was the one who had summoned all of the guilds here, so he should refrain from stating the obvious. Also saying that since they've all seen what happened during the Jeju raid, it's safe to assume the destruction would be on a similar scale. This dude says if they should hire Thomas Andre, the national-level hunter from America. This other dude responds, saying if he thinks the country has enough funds for someone like that, and since the recent spike in dungeon appearances, only a few countries would be able to send their hunters, and he's not sure how many hunters would even be willing to tackle an S-rank gate. Reiji responds, saying that there might be a hunter who would be willing to help them as long as he's paid. The name of that hunter would be Yuri Orlov, the barrier specialist and S-rank hunter from Russia. As JinWoo drives his car, he thinks about the fact that he received the Kartanon Temple's key at level 100, and he leveled up all his job skills at level 101, making him look forward to what would happen once he reaches level 102. He thinks about how Jinho is holding up by himself, saying that even though he's motivated, they should still hire more people to help out. JinWoo noticed something in the corner of his eye. It turned out to be Mommy Cha making eye contact. She suddenly turned the other way, trying to walk away. And suddenly, JinWoo appeared right to her side, scaring the shit out of her. "Why are you running away from me? And what are you doing near my office?" JinWoo asked, making Mommy Cha nervously try to come up with some excuse. She then nervously said how she had left her car in his parking lot, making JinWoo realize how he forgot since they had used his teleportation skill last time. Mommy Cha gets the courage to ask JinWoo if he was free right now. The questions she really wants to ask are why he had taken that photo with Soo-hyun, why he hired Soo-hyun instead of her since S rank is better than A rank, are the both of them dating? But as she closes her eyes, she tells him how Byung-gu had wanted her to relay a message for him. The message being about the source of his powers, surprising JinWoo. He responds, saying that they should go talk upstairs. Inside the office, Mommy Cha asks why there wasn't anyone here. JinWoo responds, saying that Jinho was away on business, making her joke since it was only the two of them. As JinWoo made coffee, he asks her how did Byung-gu manage to leave a message for him with her. She responds, saying that she heard a voice that day when Byung-gu healed her injuries after being revived by JinWoo. As Mommy Cha was floating in utter darkness, a hand had grabbed her, pulling her out from falling into the pit of the abyss. Byung-gu had told her to tell JinWoo to be careful of the powers that lie within him, saying that someone had pulled him out of the endless darkness, but after that he was no longer himself. Even though he was still conscious and his sense of self was still intact, it felt like he had become a slave revived only to serve him. The scarier part being that he was happy to serve him, making Mommy Cha ask him what he meant. Byung-gu responds, saying how JinWoo's powers were incredibly strong, and that he must be informed of this, telling her to remember that Sung JinWoo's army is, his true army is. As JinWoo is munching on a delectable sandwich, he wonders if what Mommy Cha said about how Byung-gun told her that he needs to beware of the power that lies inside of him is true. Either way, he has to find out the source of his power, saying that it was more important than getting stronger as a hunter. While watching the soldiers fight, Jinho says how this reminded him about the days they used to raid C-rank dungeons, but JinWoo scolds him, saying not to eat with his mouth full. Jinho asks that since his soldiers could move on their own, why he didn't just go about his business and let them do all the work. He responds saying that he couldn't, because there was no telling what the soldiers would do when he's not looking. But the real reason is that the farther away he is, the less experience points he gets. Jinho asks him how his sister was doing, since she's been through a lot lately with orcs almost ripping her head off her body and stuff. JinWoo responds, saying that the doctor said that she just needs rest for the time being, and his most trusty shadow is looking after her, so she's safe. Come to think of it, I should check up on her, he said, while activating the shared senses ability of one of his skills, which allows him to see what his soldiers see, wondering what his sister Gina was up to right now. A bright light could be seen at the end of the tunnel. It turned out to be a historical drama that was playing on TV with Beru, watching with absolute excitement. "Your Majesty! I implore you to reconsider your Majesty!" a character on the screen yelled. The panel switches to Gina, sleeping comfortably, as the TV's sound still plays on the background. Annoyed, JinWoo thinks to himself, if this was the reason Beru started talking all funny, asking himself if he liked watching historical dramas. While saying he should check up on the others, he watches his mother buy groceries, watching as Choi and Yoonho are having an argument. Water drips off a shower head as it flops in the pool. As we see Mommy Cha take a bath unknown to her that she's being watched, making Felon Woo jump off his seat, blushing uncontrollably from what he had seen. Jinho asks if he had dozed off for a second, and he screams, "No!" As he's thinking that he should apologize by buying her dinner or something. Jinho says if he had heard about the news that an S-rank gate had spawned in the middle of Shinjuku, Japan, and if it isn't cleared within 3 days, that motherfucker gonna open wide, causing a dungeon break, saying that it's the reason why Japan had been recruiting hunters from all over the world, asking if they had contacted Daddy Woo. Rizzy Woo responds saying that he did get a call, but is still thinking it over since he has more pressing matters to attend to, since he still got to deal with the Kartanon Temple because it's an invitation from the system itself. He asks the space in front of him, "What exactly are you? Don't you think it's about time you told me?" The air breathed with no response whatsoever. But since there's only 1 day left for him to be able to use the key, he'll find out soon enough, telling Jinho that if he's done eating, he should hurry the fuck up since they got work to do. In a hotel in Russia, this bear-looking motherfucker introduces himself as Yuri Orlov, saying that people call him the best support-type hunter in the world. As he deep-throats that beer bottle, he says how he looked at the file the Blade Guild sent him and commends them for evacuating the civilians from Shinjuku. But it seems they lack manpower, asking if it's true that Japan can only send 6 S-ranks on the mission. Reiji, the guild master of the Blades Guild, confirms this, saying that 1 S-rank from each guild must stay behind to deal with the A-rank gates that had spawned across Japan. Orlov responds in a drunken state, saying that wouldn't do. "How do you expect to protect your country with that plan?" he asked. As he slams the alcohol bottle on the desk, he says, $3.6 billion a year, making it 10 million a day. As he gives a creepy smile, he states how, if they plan to hire him, that's what would cost them, promising to keep the gates closed as long as he's paid. The guild master Reiji was obviously not happy about this, asking if he really demanded $10 million a day for his services. Minoru asked Kanai to tell him what that drunk MF just said, since she's supposed to speak Russian. But Kanai responded saying that she's not sure what he said, but she was certain it was not good news. Orlov starts cackling in his seat, asking if they would rather save their country for just $10 measly million a day, or let their country be destroyed just to save a few pennies, asking if they even have the time to be picky right now, when even licking his feet while begging might not be enough to get him to help them. Reiji responds saying that he must be really confident in his abilities if he's here talking all that shit. Orlov said of course he was, since it would be immeasurably better than hiring the hooligans behind him. Though Minoru and Kanai did not understand a single word he was yapping about, they could still tell that he was talking shit about them. Suddenly a barrier appeared around them. "You won't be able to move an inch from there without me letting you," Orlov stated as he waved his hand, telling them to try to move if they could, leaving both Minoru and Kanai to question how he managed to restrict their movements even though they are S-ranks. Orlov makes Reiji a deal that he'd stop the S-rank gate of his and even let Minoru and Kanai off free of charge. Reiji responds saying even though he has confirmed his skills, he still doesn't know if the government would approve the demands he was asking for. As he grips the edge of his seat tightly, Reiji thinking that trusting him in the only way they have, asking if he could make a quick call. Back in Korea, as Drip Woo laces up his shoes, his mommy looks at him with a worried look, asking JinWoo if she really didn't have to worry about anything. Drip Woo responds saying that of course not, since he just has an appointment, telling her he'll be right back as he exits through the door. The time until the door to the Kartanon Temple reveals itself is 1 minute and 2 seconds. As JinWoo closes his eyes and opens back up, he manifests the temple's key with it stating that the location where he could use the key had been revealed.